Hi again. So thank you for joining me for another session of preparing for a unmedicated hospital birth. So now comes the fun part of obviously dealing or having the discomfort management or pain management side of things. If you're taking this course, that obviously means you're trying to do an unmedicated birth, but in a hospital setting, whether that be at a birth center in a hospital or a separate birth center or just labor and delivery. And those can all be possibilities unmedicated. So I'm here to try to give you the tools to help you with that. So we did go over what the hospital room or labor and delivery or at a birth center, what it should look like and what you should have there. Try to prepare you for that. But I know that the biggest part is the pain management or the discomfort part of it. We're going to try not to use pain because pain is a strong word that's tied to negative connotation in your mind and your body. And so we're going to try to just use discomfort or pressure because it's overall, I mean, you're going to be getting a baby out of it. So I feel like that goes in a positive direction. So we're going to try to stay positive with the words that we use, the language that we use around it. So basically, the first part is really starting out with the sense of being confident and knowing that what you have ahead of you. And I think that I know that we don't want to have a birth plan per se, because that can always, if we divvy off of that plan, you might think that that's failure. However, I think preparing and knowing is another part of it. I think that there's no harm in kind of making sure that if there are some things that we can get out of the way or at least know about beforehand, so you're not sitting there, which I've had to do, Googling while you are 8 centimeters dilated. So let's avoid trying to Google and doing other things while we're in the middle of something really important. So I want to start out by saying that people are like, oh, how am I going to know if I'm in labor and like, what do I do? And all these things. So I know that the stereotypical Hollywood look of it is that you are going to end up just having your water break and then you're going to have to run to the hospital and the baby's just going to come. The reality is only 1 in 12 birthing people actually have their water break. And in the situations of a lot of home births and with midwives, they actually see a lot of babies that are delivered still in their sac. So I didn't know until I had 2 kids that you don't have to have your water break. It's perfectly fine to have your water not rupture until possibly the end of the birth, or possibly not at all. And then the baby comes out in the sac, and then the midwife or doctor opens up the sac, and there's your baby. And actually, honestly, having the baby in the sac actually allows more cushion for the baby coming out, which can help with your discomfort and everything. So it's funny because not a lot of people talk about that. It's also important because I know the stress aspect of like, obviously the whole cascade of interventions happens if you feel pressured to have your baby. And I would like everybody to know that 50% of first-time moms by 40 weeks, about around 40 weeks and 5 days actually end up having their babies. So babies don't usually come on their due date. It's not a due date, it's a due window, it's a guesstimation. I mean, there's so many different things that happen. You have your own menstruation period or cycle and everything, so we can never give you an exact date. So the reality is the baby most likely will not come at 40 weeks, and that should not be a hard line right there that you have to get induced. And then the other part is a lot of people might be concerned that your baby's not going to come until after 42 weeks. And in that case, you would usually, per the hospital or your doctor's guidelines, you would probably have to have a C-section. Even if you're at midwifery care, the midwives don't go past 42 weeks. But rest assured that 75% of babies do come out by 41 weeks. So you're still not at the 42 weeks. If rare, let's just stick with those numbers. And so in that case, now you have kind of like a little bit more of a stable foundation of like, okay, might not have to rush into this. So because then comes the cascade of interventions with inductions and all of those things. So just to let you know, just in case this ends up happening. So say, if that is something, so say your labor arrest, okay, and you feel it and everything is happening and you can't cope with the pain, and say you do end up getting epidural, the likelihood of then you stalling your labor is high. So then they'll have to most likely try to help stimulate contractions again, which then they'll insert or rather give you an IV of Pitocin, which is a synthetic version of oxytocin, and that will stimulate a synthetic version of what your body should be doing with its own hormones, and that can trigger your body to go and actually experience pain more than discomfort, because basically, we did talk about this, but when your body is ready to go into labor, it produces oxytocin. The oxytocin starts contracting, or I'm going to say contracting. We say waves that you feel, but it is contracting the uterus at the very top. And so that's going to squeeze, and eventually the baby's going to come out, right? But in that squeezing or contracting, you are going to experience discomfort. So your body automatically starts producing endorphins too. So it's a counteracting basis. So it's oxytocin, contractions or waves, and then endorphins. So it's like it's a symbiotic relationship to help you cope with any discomforts that you have. But the result is going to be having a baby, right? So it's everything the body's doing what it needs to do to bring the baby down and out. What happens is if you do start introducing, an epidural, and then that possibly stalls your laboring. So then they have to stimulate the laboring, and that causes you to get Pitocin. Then your body goes on overload. So then they're going to bump up the epidural. That can possibly keep you into this limbo stage of your body just not wanting to labor anymore. And so that can cause you to have a C-section. The other part is if you don't end up doing that and just kind of letting your body flow through, your body produces the oxytocin, the endorphins, and then you go through labor and have a baby. So the biggest part is we've gone through the hypnobirthing aspects and like meditation part, but I can't stress how important it is that you need to make sure that you believe that you can have this baby and that your body is built for this baby. That's why going over your affirmations, making sure that you stay confident, your head's in the game, have your dim lights, get back to your mammalian side, because your body knows what to do. Your baby knows what to do. You got to trust all of those things, because as soon as you doubt, your body will start producing adrenaline, which is the complete opposite. That's going to put your body into a fight or flight reaction, which is going to then shut down your body. So it's going to stop digestion, it's going to stop your uterus from contracting, and it's just going to have everything in a standstill, because now you don't feel comfortable. And whether that is you changing your environment, whether that's bringing somebody into the room that wasn't supposed to be in the room, and now you're just in a fearful feeling, or if, your hospital room isn't dim anymore, all those things, making sure that you're not fearful and that you're not uncomfortable. Because yes, once the adrenaline starts, you can go back, but you need to just try to realize that, hone it back in. What happened that made you fearful? What happened that made you uncomfortable? And then try to eliminate that. Tell your doula, tell your birth partner, hey, get that person out. Hey, tell them to be quiet. Hey, and if they don't already, because I'm sure that my husband is kind of bad at those things, and he was like amazing. Like I realized he saw in my eyes that something changed. Everybody out, lights down, whatever the case may be, even if it's in the hospital setting. He yelled at nurses, he yelled at doctors. This is your birth, this is your time. And no matter what guidelines or no matter what they say in the hospital, it's you call the shots. And I know that it may be hard because they're an authority figure. There's somebody that's supposed to be a master at what they do. But the reality is your body knows what to do. And a lot of times, depending on who you're under the care of, if you're an OBGYN, they're used to surgeries, a midwife, even if they're in a birthing center in the hospital, they're going to definitely be more conservative. So only you can get yourself to the finish line. Only you can have this baby. So you need to trust yourself in that, and surround yourself with positive energy. and make sure that you keep the confidence going, because your body knows how to do this. And as soon as you start questioning those things, you'll notice that it's a cascade in the opposite direction. So we're going to go ahead and we'll take a break, and then we'll go over some of, we did go over the interventions, but we're going to go over some of the things that come after, such as when the baby comes out, how to ask for the delayed cord clamping, or how long that's going to take, whether you need to sign off on like vitamin K shots ahead of time, all these things, circumcision. So those are all things that we'll go over on the next video.